Well, 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 look what made it to the garage. Every time I look at this thing up close or, start to mess with this thing, I just absolutely love the fact that this thing is almost immaculate. I mean, I was looking at it the other day. Look at the pinch welds on just everything. There's a little bit of discoloration right here, which is actually from the seam sealer that they use under the paint. But I mean, man, I am excited to work on this thing. That's right, we got a brand new Garrett turbo going on the truck. We're gonna show you exactly how that's done. If you guys haven't checked out my other videos, I modified my garage right here to fit my LBZ swapped Yukon in, and I actually did that to do the swap in my garage. But now we have plenty of room to work on the single cab. This truck actually would not fit in my garage unless I did this. And there's this little step right here. It's about maybe 5 or 6 inches. And now we have complete easy access to the engine bay, and my toolbox is right there. So this should make easy work. All right, first thing you're gonna wanna do is take the intake off. 8mm socket on the hose clamps, and there is one on the intake of the turbo. I am gonna take my intercooler piping off. This is obviously not factory, but it uses the factory clamp right here, which is an 11mm. It's facing down, so I'm gonna use this ratcheting wrench. I'm not sure which direction it's facing from the factory though, so you'll just have to find that. And then the top one was also an 11, but this is not factory, so it'll look a little different. All right, the tensioner for the belt is down here. You use a 1/2" breaker bar or ratchet. There's a square drive in the tensioner. Once you get the belt off the alternator, take it off of the AC compressor, and what I do is tie it up right here. I just use some random wire that I had in my toolbox, so you don't have to reroute the belt, because these are a pain in the butt to do with the fan shroud. So we're gonna take off the AC compressor, and then we'll be able to flip it over this way. These are 4 15mm. 2 wiring clips on the AC compressor, one in the back, one in the front. Two number 11 clamps on this, and we can just pull this out and then leave this pipe in the truck. I'm gonna pull this boot off just to inspect, but we should be able to leave this pipe in there, take the turbo off. All right, moving on to the wiring, you have the vane position sensor, which is this thing on top, and this wire from the factory actually routes under these connectors, so you will probably need to take these off, which you just lift them up like this and pull this out. And once you do that, you can take the bracket off and get to the vane position sensor where it's clipped in down here in these 2 little holes on this bracket. And those are clipped in with these blue clips. The easiest way to do it is get needle nose pliers and squeeze it, and then it will pop out, and that goes to this wiring harness here, and it just unclips. The reason why mine is like this is because I already did this when I was trying to diagnose my LBZ swapped Yukon, which is in other videos if you want to check out on the channel. But when this goes back together, I will route it under this wiring harness, and you won't be able to see this wire. The other wire will be this, which is the vane actuator. So there's a metal clip you have to lift up, and then just wiggle that out pretty easy, and we'll take it off, or we'll take this bracket off of the top, which is a 12mm. So with all the easy stuff out of the way, you're able to see the up pipe right there, and the flashlight is on the 12-point bolts. So I'm gonna be spraying those with PB Blaster at least a couple times before we try to pop those free, because a lot of people have issues with those. Now, I've had them off in the past. This actually has an LB7 up pipe, which is why you can see the bolts from here. Your LBZ up pipe will have the EGR stuff coming up right here where my hand is, and your EGR system sits right here. I highly suggest trying to get in there with some PB Blaster and spraying them multiple times. Don't just spray them right before you try to do this. Spray them a few days in advance. You will thank yourself later. You are able to spray this stuff without taking the fender liner out, so just spray it. All right, this is where it starts to get fun. Next, we're gonna take the downpipe off. That's a 11 mil there. And I took the fender liner out. We have another 11 mil there. The bolt holding the downpipe right there is actually a 14 millimeter. A lot of people leave this off without any issues. 12 millimeter 12-point bolts for the up pipes. We will need to take the passenger side up pipe completely off to be able to get to the driver's side up pipe, and we can get away with only unbolting the top section of the driver's side up pipe. We do need to take these bolts off, or this nut. I mean, there's 1, 2 back there on top of the trans bell housing for the trans dipstick tube. You got to take those off to move the dipstick out of the way. All right, this is actually a 13 to get the dipstick. In the top one, you can use an extension, like a short, like 2 or 3 inch extension with a shallow socket. And then this one right here, you can use just the socket on the ratchet. Just barely have any movement, but it can be done. So once you loosen the dipstick, you can push the dipstick tube up like about an inch. And then you want to turn the downpipe like 90 degrees like this way. So right now in the engine bay, the opening that connected to the turbo faced forward. Now it's facing straight up. We can just slide it out. Got to do a little bit of wiggling here. There it is. All right, it's the moment of truth with the dreaded up pipe bolts. These are 12 millimeter 12 point. And I sprayed them twice yesterday and let them soak. They started to move. First one's coming out. And if you feel it get tight, go the other way. Just a tear. And then come back. You don't want to break these off in your exhaust manifolds, or you're going to be taking the exhaust manifold off. Clean bolts, no breaks. That's a good sign. All right, you can see the passenger side up pipe is off. All 3 of the driver's side up pipe bolts are out. And there is a little flex section in the driver's side up pipe, actually in both of them. So I believe we will be able to pull the turbo out without taking the entire driver's side up pipe off. So there are 3 17 millimeter bolts that hold the turbo to what's called the pedestal. And there's one right there, way down there. My flashlight's shining straight on it. This one should be relatively easy to do. There's one right here. I got my ratchet with a swivel on the end on it. And then there's one further back there, which we will find in a second, but jack handle it is. Hopefully that was the bolt breaking loose and not the ratchet. I think we're good. There it is. Wow, that's a clean bolt if you ask me. I mean, the head, you know, looks a little surface rust, but that thing's clean. No wonder it came out so easy. Third bolt, you can see the extension sticking up. So it's right in front of the driver's side up pipe. Oil feed is a 14 mil. All right, there are 2 nuts under the driver's side up pipe. Those are 12 mil. That's the oil drain line. 12 mil ratcheting wrench, and you will be able to get it with the wrench facing the driver's side. All right, now that this coolant line is free, there she is. This thing's heavy. And look, I found a socket down there. It's under the up pipe. That was from when I worked on this thing last, and if something falls in the valley, you're not getting it. Wow. This thing's heavy. I'm gonna try to get out of the engine bay. Thing looks good. All right, guys, this is the best way to work on your truck. Just get you one of these guys, former LBZ owner, to do it for you. His name's Ryan, Rai Cars or something on YouTube.
This is why I sold my LBZ.
He sold it and bought a 2020. Ooh, that'll be a good video for next time. So stay tuned for that. He bought a, is it a 22?
Yeah.
22 L5P dually. We'll have to check it out. All right, guys, she's going back together. The turbo is completely in. The first thing you want to do is align the drain tube at the back and obviously use the new gasket. So you'll tighten that down first. And then once you get that done, you'll tighten the turbo down, which is the 3 17mm bolts, and then you can move to the up pipes. I didn't really feel like filming that because I filmed it all taking it off. It's exactly the same going backwards. So just make sure you get the drain line in place and you get that tight before you put anything else back together. Then you can go ahead and put your downpipe on. You can see it's back there. And I did replace the coolant lines. There's one right here and one under here. This one is a 90-degree bend. So if you replace that, make sure you order a factory one or factory replacement. I do everything from Merchant Auto because it gets here super quick and it's always quality parts. So I do like them. That was about like 20 bucks and it's worth it. Just do the new line and be done with it. You have to do the formed coolant line if it's a bend like that. This you can just get from a regular auto parts store. And now we can put the belt back on with the AC compressor, and then we can do the intake. Make sure you clip in your wires. Pretty easy. You just don't want to forget about any of these. I still need to do this turbo vane actuator wire, which goes over here. It bolts to this bracket and it bolts to the back of the turbo, or the passenger side, I should say. Once you do the up pipes and the down pipe, this is a super easy job. So that is definitely the hardest part to this thing. But we are all done, put back together, math plugged in, and we are going to add some coolant. What I want to do is open this little bleeder screw on top of the thermostat. So get yourself a 12mm. I'm gonna kind of unscrew it all the way, reach down here and grab it. And then we are going to fill up coolant in here until we see it coming out of here. We'll put the bleeder screw back in, and then we'll add just a hair more till we get to the full line. All right, guys, so to get oil to the turbo without the truck running, I made a little makeshift jumper cable here. So we're gonna remove this relay in the fuse box, and we're gonna jump this corner to this corner up here. I cut these little terminals so they fit down in there, and the truck should crank without starting. So let's do it. All right, exactly what we wanted to happen. I'm gonna do that a few more times, let the starter cool off, and we should be able to start the truck. All right, guys, I cranked it 3 times in a row for about 10 seconds each. We're ready to start this thing. Let's see it. She is running, and I do not hear any bad turbo noise. Man, this is almost like a trip down memory lane. And look, we just rolled 204,000 on this thing. This thing drives like a dream. I absolutely love it. I do need to take it to the dealer to get the vane position sensor relearned. But the good thing is the gas station is right down the street, so I'm gonna go fill up and we'll be right back. And then the next stop will be to relearn the vane position sensor, and this thing will run like it's brand new. Well guys, the Single Cab LBZ is done with the new turbo. I hope you guys could follow that video really easily and pull your turbo by yourself in your garage if you need to, or ever want to do that, save a little bit of money taking it to a shop, or you know, do something yourself and be confident you can do it. So make sure you guys stay tuned to the Nasty Nate channel. We got more updates for the Single Cab LBZ and the Yukon LBZ coming soon.